Today we're talking about opinion writing. So, okay, when you're approaching writing an opinion piece, there are a couple of things that you want to think about, as always. So, like with, the feature or the A&E piece or the food review or really anything you're doing, you want to start with a cool first sentence to draw your reader in. So that can be an anecdote, so like a personal story about yourself and how you relate to the topic you're writing about. Or that can be like a really interesting statistic that's really scary. Like if you're writing a coronavirus opinion, you can put in like the death toll or something, and that will capture your attention, as morbid as that is. But anyway, okay, so in an opinion, you have a bunch of points that you want to make to support your main topic or your main point, but you always want to put your strongest, biggest points at the top, because your reader only has so much time, and if they don't have the full time to read your whole article, they at least want to get the main points across. So you put those at the top. And you want to use short paragraphs always, because like I said in previous classes, you don't want to write an essay. No one wants to read a huge block of text. And just basic stuff like varying your sentence structure, making sure you have long sentences and short sentences, and spacing out the statistics and the numbers you have in your article.
Like in our own newspaper, often like one of the main edits we make is like if it's not a content issue, you want to make sure that the flow of the article is like very, I don't know, satisfying or how to put it exactly, but you don't want to use words that are like very academic and that you would put in like an analytical essay, for example. So like, therefore, moreover, as a result, they mess up the flow. And an example of this that I just wrote like a random thing that has no real sources. So this could be true, could be not. Well, it's also based on how Trump said that disinfectants in the house, I don't know if you guys heard about that, could kill the coronavirus. So an example of what not to do is say, although the government posed the possibility of household cleaners being useful in the fight to find a cure for COVID-19, doctors have recognized the danger of introducing such toxins into the body. Therefore, although the president's suggestions may be alluring, people should not drink bleach to kill the coronavirus. So if your opinion is don't drink bleach to kill the coronavirus, get that across in some way that is not using all of these choppy transitions.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you kind of want to think about it more as a story that you're trying to tell. I mean, you're definitely trying to tell a point or to argue something, but you don't want to treat it purely as an essay, as like an analytical school essay. But yeah, so then Ethan also made another point about bringing your ideas full circle. So you definitely want to make this succinct and you want to get to the point. And that's just like journalism in general. You don't want to go off on tangents and make your reader bored. You don't want to put in a lot of ideas that don't mean anything. Like you have to make sure that every single point you put in is new and original and shares like a different perspective on whatever you're writing about. That's another thing. When you're writing an opinion, you kind of want to think about what the other side would say so that you can refute whatever they're saying and make your opinion stronger. Because if you just present a one-sided opinion, then people will be like, okay, well, what about, like this counterpoint? Then what are we supposed to do? So you just want to make sure you consider all sides of the argument. And we'll do an activity later so you can see that. But anyway, yeah, and then bringing your ideas full circle. So if you have an idea about drinking bleach or something, and you give an anecdote about how a friend you knew like drink bleach or something as your introduction, you can start with that, and then by the end of the article, in order to make it wrap around, in order to make it sound good, you can bring it back to the original story and maybe tell a little bit about the results of your friend going and drinking bleach. You can talk about how like they ended up in the hospital or something. But anyway, you just want to bring your ideas around full circle so you have like a complete package in your story, and your reader feels fulfilled by the time they reach the end of it.
Editorial. That's like included in the opinion section, and that's just an opinion piece, and it's written by one person on the editorial board, so an editor, and it's on behalf of the entire staff. So that's usually about something that's like relevant in current to like the newspaper and their audience, or yeah, I mean, I guess mostly the audience usually, or something that the community as a whole is facing. So, for example, our newspaper, like one of our most recent editorials after Kobe's death was about how like sports bring people together, even in these tragic times. So that's like something very current. It was on the minds of everyone. And then I guess going forward, this is from our writing sheet that we made for like our own newspaper for opinion section. So I guess like in general, you want to make sure you're not afraid to take risks when you start writing an opinion, because it's something that you believe is important, other people should know about, and that you're passionate about. And you also don't want to be like too negative or rant or like be accusatory and harsh, because like Hannah said before, it's like absolute, and also no one really wants to hear. That'll just like drive them away a little bit. And then yeah, you want to avoid using your I statements all the time. Unless it's like a narrative piece, sort of like we'll show more examples later. You really want to try and just like get on with your piece and not keep saying like I feel this way, I think this over and over. And then yes, cite any information. And then okay, this is going to be really quick skim for like beginning, middle, and end. So beginning, just like in a news piece or features like we've talked about, you want to have your sort of like lead paragraph a little bit. So if it's news, you start with like a recap of the story and transition into your argument. But if it's personal, you start with your anecdotal lead. And then the middle, you really want to just, that I feel like what's unique to opinion especially is not to get lost in the middle of it, because you can really go off on your opinions in like every direction really. So you want to make sure you're staying like focused and on task. And also you don't want to have too many facts. That's important. Just the ones that are essential. And then conclusion paragraph, like we said before, you just want it to wrap up your argument as best you can. And now we have an example of a factual lead. And this is more, I guess, representative of, and Hannah helped me realize this, of like the opinion pieces you'd read in like right now. And yeah, so they're important to know how to do.
Yeah. So this is a New York Times piece. So this would actually be the type of thing you would read in a real newspaper. And then we'll talk about kind of other more fun articles that Ethan and I have written, because Ethan and I really enjoy writing opinions. But for now, this is a New York Times one about coronavirus. So does anyone want to read it, or are Ethan and I going to be the only ones reading it?
As the federal government hastens to distribute trillions of dollars to soften the economic pain of the coronavirus pandemic, a troubling pattern is increasingly clear. Money is not reaching many of those Americans who are in greatest need. Millions of lower-income households are still waiting for the federal stimulus payments that have landed in the bank accounts of middle-class families. Only a quarter of small businesses have received federal aid. Some aid programs are underfunded, others are poorly designed, and the federal, state, and local agencies responsible for handing out money, understaffed in normal times, have been overwhelmed by the crisis. But perhaps the most important reason for the uneven distribution of aid is that it's always harder to help those who need it most.
You can see that already. The article is about and what they're arguing. So like we were saying, don't go roundabout, just say it as it is, like at the very beginning, so your reader knows what to do. And then they support their initial claim or whatever they're arguing with some facts, which Olivia will now read. The bullet points.
Okay. Lower income households and smaller businesses tend to have less information about available aid, less time to complete forms, less experience navigating bureaucracy.
If you're reading a factually based opinion like that, it's always good to have a lot of different statistics to back up whatever you're saying, so you have some substance to it. And so that's just an example of that.
You should not support your opinions like this. Be better than Guy Fieri. Okay, so that's him eating the food, but then this is him responding to the food. So
God.
he gets very into it. Okay, this is him talking about a burger that he really likes.
Wow, crazy.
Mark them off a little bit, and then you want to get your bacon bend going. Get some leeks in there as well. We saute these with white wine, salt and pepper. We got a croissant bun that's been all toasted off.
Sweet
right?
potato chips.
Burger down. Some really gooey goodness right on top. There you go. Ethos burger.
Looks pretty good.
He's such a messy eater.
That's a real croissant. I mean, that's like textbook. You are taking this delicious, angelic pastry and hitting it with a burger. You're putting monster truck tires on a Bentley. And I would take that to the county fairgrounds for race night any day of the week. Wow! That is one of the most outside of the box burgers I've ever had on Triple D. I've had hundreds. The croissant holds together, it soaks it up. The burgers cook perfectly. The white cheddar was the perfect kiss, but it's this leek and bacon vinaigrette jam fest that you put on there. Oh my God. Amazing. Wow.
Awesome.
So essentially, that was just kind of flashback to food reviews, which are kind of similar to opinions in that you're stating your opinion. But like we said in the food reviews, you're trying to appeal to your audience in a certain way. And so with opinions, I mean, don't cater to your audience, but definitely think about what they might think. And whoever, like I said before, might argue with your point, try to like think about what they say in advance and then try to make an argument against them. But okay.
Yeah, oh, also, yeah, just like with his descriptions, you can be a little like out there in your opinion writing, I guess. But I've like, even when I've turned in my first drafts before, I've like been accused of being like too weird with my descriptions. Like for example, like the monster truck wheels on a Bentley. Like, so I guess like make sure you're not like too crazy, if that makes sense. I don't know if that's an issue for you guys, but sometimes I got just like too out there.
So we're just going to do an activity now. So basically we're going to do a debate about animal testing. So does anyone know what animal testing is and care to explain? Okay, Iris, yes.
It's where companies they like test their products on animals to see if it works, and then they sell it off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. So I copy and pasted kind of a long explanation here, but yeah, it's exactly what Iris said. So when we test drugs that we don't know whether or not they work, and we test them on animals before giving them to humans, so it brings up the idea of like, are animals, you know, less important than humans, and like the idea of like animal cruelty or saving humans' lives. So there's a whole debate about this. And so we're going to split you up into groups so you can argue your side. So we'll give you like 15 or 20 minutes to research the side, and with your group, you're going to like figure out a bunch of points that you'll make for either the pro animal testing or the con animal testing. And then another thing that Ethan and I were thinking about is that with opinion articles, it's not just about the facts, it's also about emotion. So if you guys have any emotional arguments to make, that's also a good thing to think of. And if you can find any stories of people that have used animal testing or something, I don't know. Well, you'll figure it out. Ethan and I will help you. But like essentially, feel free to think of emotional stories or to research emotional stories to also support your point. So it doesn't have to all be fact.
Well, there are lots of benefits for testing on animals because they're very like to humans, and our DNAs are we share more than 98%, and yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
That's it. Who wants to go from our side, from against?
Me.
Oh, Abner.
I'm ready for battle. Okay.
All right, take it away.
Well, sometimes they're not that similar. Humans, the animals are not that similar to humans, and they cause yeah, they're not that similar to humans, and sometimes the things don't work.
Oh, Olivia, do you want to continue on that based on the point you wrote about?
Wait, I didn't really hear others. What was it about again?
Oh, he was saying that animals don't always translate super well to humans.
Oh, well, so on one of the websites, it said that like animal testing might be like ineffective because like humans and animals have like different diseases and like body structures, which causes like some of the cures that they experimented on animals as successful. It might be like worthless to humans. So one example of that is like a rat. No, I think it's a mouse, but okay. So, so people try to like find a cure for cancer. So they tested it on a mouse, and then it worked well. You mean like the animal mouse? So yeah. But then like for humans, it didn't really work well. So we still are researching for the cure for cancer. So that's a proof that that didn't work on humans. So yeah, it's not gonna like always like work for humans if it worked on animals. So that's my
I have a comment.
All right, Abner.
They're also doing that right now. They found a cure for the animals for the coronavirus. They already tried it on the animals and it worked, but they haven't tried it on the humans. So maybe it doesn't work.
All right. Okay. Cool. All right, my side or pro side. Iris, do you want to make some arguments?
Sure. Olivia, for what you said, for the cancer mouse testing, where's your source and where did you get that, and where did you get that source? And also, I also read something similar to that, and it said that the mouse testing worked on the mouse, but then for some people it didn't work. So for the other some people that it worked, they were cancer free afterwards. And for my pro side argument is that animal testing can be productive for people, so they can contribute to life-saving cures and they can save more lives. Animal testing is important that vaccines are safe, such as the COVID-19. The scientists are testing rats and mice to come up with vaccines. If there is no testing on rats, it would be harder to come up with the vaccines. If there were people testing, and the people can die more easily if something goes wrong from the vaccine.
Olivia, put the source in the chat. Drop the source in the chat.
Okay.
We're doing this. This is journalism, guys. See, if
so-
you don't source your stuff, then you're gonna get like fired, right, Ethan? Shattered glass, Ethan.
Oh, Shattered Glass, big issues. That's a great movie to watch if you'd like to watch about the pitfalls of journalism and what not to do.
I pasted the link on the chat. So that's the link. Go in. And so rebuttal. And some rebuttal time. So I think you're kind of thinking too human-centered because we're humans. But animals and humans are both organisms and they both have the right to live. And it seems like more of like humans are controlling the animals. So animals should have the same freedom as the humans as well, because we're just kind of the same thing, and we actually have adapted from an animal. We were like technically a chimpanzee. I know it's kind of shaming, but okay, cool. We're called Australopithecine or something.
Yeah,
like that.
Australopithecus. Yes.
Okay, cool. I never can memorize that name. Okay.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyways, so yeah, that we would have stayed an animal if we hadn't evolved throughout time. So we would technically consider it to be an animal. We are an animal. But let's say that some kind of other animal that are like more, I don't know, advanced than us, like try to experiment us, then we wouldn't really feel as good because we also have emotions. So animals can't really express their emotions. They still feel something. And I don't think it's really good to like use animals for human benefit. And it can be like really like, as Hannah said, like really morbid when it goes to like, it says on a website, it says that 100 million animals are harmed during animal testing. And that's not a really good news, so.
Oh, also, Leanne, do you want to jump in with your other point?
So basically, animal testing can also animal testing can also be wasteful because it says despite the use of over 150 million experiments globally each year, only 59 new medicines were approved in 2018 by the leading drug regulator, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and many of these are for these rare diseases. Also, I have another piece of evidence. The U.S. drug industry invests 50 billion per year in research, but the approval rate of the new drugs is the same as it was 50 years ago. Only 6% of 4,300 international companies involved in drug development have registered a new drug with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration since 1950. And even those drugs that are approved are not they're not effective due to individual reactions. So the top 10 highest grossing drugs in the USA only help between 1 in 25 people who take them, which doesn't really it's not really that worth of having them. Of over 1,000 potential stroke treatments that have been successful in animal tests, only approximately 10% progressed to human trials. None work sufficiently well in humans. And a review of 101 high-impact basic science discoveries based on animal experience found that only 5% resulted in approved treatments in 20 years. So that's some of the evidence and studies that I proved for wasteful testing. Okay, so now I'm going to keep expanding on how animal testing is dangerous. So Vioxx, it's a drug to treat arthritis. They were found to be safe when it's tested in monkeys, but it has been estimated to have caused around about 320,000 heart attacks and strokes and 140 deaths worldwide. And a recent drug trial in France resulted in the death of one volunteer and left 4 others severely brain damaged in 2016. This drug, which was intended to treat a wide range of conditions, including anxiety and Parkinson's disease, were tested in 4 different species of animals: mice, rats, dogs, and monkeys, before giving it to humans. And only 1/3 of these substances were known to cause cancer in humans, and have been shown to cause cancer also in animals.
If you want to test it on a human, they have to, their family has to make sure that if the test goes wrong and the human passes away, that they have there's a, not like a reward, but like for their passing, there should be something that helps out their family, because the loss wouldn't be easy.
So yeah,
I
it
agree.
brings up a lot of like economic issues, especially with like families and in the laws and court system in the US. So I mean you're weighing, whether a rat's life matters more, a human's life matters more. But like if we're looking at it logistically in terms of like a human perspective, if a human dies, like the amount of like the amount of like drama I guess that would ensue from that is a lot to think about, versus like if a rat died, as much as both are living organisms. So that's a really good point to me.
Also, just based on what Hannah also just said, this is kind of putting this in context of coronavirus also, because this debate of like whether to get a vaccine and like if it's worth it, like the end of getting a vaccine and curing all these people and helping these families, if it's worth it to maybe be more cruel to animals or whatnot. But also if you're testing people, that often would represent this like wealth inequality, maybe racial inequality, because those are also intertwined. So yeah, because the people that would be tested normally, they get paid, but also they have to be desperate enough to need that payment. So it's interesting to think about.
Thanks, guys. That was fun. That got exciting. All right. We'll see
All
you
right.
next week.
Yes.